doing? The Eagles are more interesting today than they are during the season. I've never seen it. I love it. I covet it. Dear God, thank you so much for Eagle content because it's been one soap opera after another. Thank you very much, Lord, for the signing of a linebacker who was on the worst defense in the National Football League against the run. Thank you very much, Lord. Thank you. Thank you for C.J. Gardner-Johnson. Thank you for Javon Hargrave and everybody bitching and crying at the expense of Big Sills. Welcome aboard. Please hit the like button. Oh, by the way, today's the 19th anniversary. You guys dropped the vet, and it needed to be dropped. It's the 19th anniversary of Veterans Stadium going into the rubble, going into the history. 19 years today, they dropped that baby. Worst turf in the history of the National Football League. The worst field in the history of the National Football League was Candlestick Park. You guys had the worst turf because there was this giant rip in the middle of the field. Unbelievable, man. How you guys doing? Appreciate it again, like I said. Let me get started here. A.J. Brown. Let me see who else. Darius, Old Man Slay. So these guys have gone to Twitter the last couple weeks and barked all kinds of shit. By the way, talk about a guy who gets butthurt all the time. That's A.J. Brown. Every time people bring money up or wide receiver contracts, what does he do? He takes shots at the Tennessee Titans. As a dear friend of mine would say, hey, Hoss, if you're going to punch up. That's old news. Hey, by the way, I'm a victim of this, and I'm going to explain to you. I think this is something that's in all athletes because of the competitive juices we have. How many times have you heard A.J. Brown bitch about the Titans and how they didn't treat him good in negotiation after the fact? So now you have some people in the media, this is chirping, kind of like spreading out there a little bit that Gardner-Johnson was a bad locker room guy. That'll start to get more steam. That just shows you, in my opinion, how much you truly wanted the guy. If you're still chirping and now starting dumb shit about him. Is A.J. Brown is he a cancer guy? He chirps about the Titans every gosh dang day. How many times has he chirped on the Titans? Dude, shut up. Right? It's old news. You got your $20 million. You went to the NFC title game. You had a career year, and you're still chirping. You know why? It's inside. Gardner-Johnson throws a couple shots out the door. What does that tell you? The kid wanted to stay. What does it tell you now? You're hearing Eagle fans go, the guy's overrated. He ain't overrated. He's a 26-year-old kid who's going to be a superstar in this league. But now he's overrated, and he's a locker room problem. How about Darius last 5 months, no play Slay? This guy was still under contract. He wasn't a free agent. He turned himself into a victim of salary cap. Tweet in the morning. Can't wait to see where we go next. Later on in the PM, after he had a couple cocktails, Big Sills knows about that. Running it back like I never left. Confusing guy. Which is it? People get hurt. I take shots at certain people in the broadcasting business, and I shouldn't. Like I said, a dear friend of mine said, Sills, if you're going to punch at people, punch up, not down. He's right. Certain people that are in the Philly sports market, and I'm talking companies, not people, because I don't give a shit what the hosts say. Companies and I have been in battle. You know why? Because I made a ton of money. I don't battle with hosts. I battle with market managers. And it's wrong. Because my show's growing. One of the fastest. We almost had 1 million views last week. And I'm punching down at something that no one watches or listens to. And where I'm going with this is, whether it's Slay, Gardner Johnson, how about Javon Hargrave? Javon Hargrave just signed a contract that made him the third highest paid defensive tackle at $20 million. What did he say? Well, that NFC Championship game would have been completely different if Brock Purdy played. Hoss. Why? You just got a $20 million paycheck. You give Big Sills $20 million, Xander might be the only person on the planet know where he is, and my aunt. Bro, I'm telling you, I'm burning the boats and the bridges. I'm already in the Dan Cave. You know where my Dan Cave, I never leave the Dan Cave. My point is, everybody is competitive. I don't have any ill will towards Gardner Johnson. It's expected that he's going to throw a shot at the Eagles. It's expected that the Eagles are going to try to limit the damage of all the players that they've lost publicly. It's funny, listening to people talk about a linebacker. What's this kid's name? Nicholas Morrow. Here's the PFF scouting report. He's not good against the run. He's good in pass coverage. The Bears had the worst defense in the NFL. So this guy had 116 total chases. You know what that means? He was chasing after people down the field. Had the worst defense in the NFL. Impact. Look, the Eagles are looking for bodies right now because they don't have enough people on that side of the ball right now to go to camp. They need to get as many people as they can to go to camp. So I get it. Again, it's not a shit sign, but it's a nothing burger sign. It's a total nothing burger. Like Rashad Penny. Rashad Penny all of a sudden is Shady McCoy. And I'm like, the dude averages 8 games a year. He started 11-5, and he was a first rounder. But now all of a sudden he's shady. Okay. Oh, okay. Right. So C.J. Gardner now is a locker room cancer. That's expected because it shows you the Eagles want that out. Because you know why? They lost 7 starters. I don't care how you cut that pie up. 7 starters off of an NFC championship team is quite a loss. Plus 4 new coaches on defense. 2 brand new coordinators. I don't know. Sounds like a lot of turnover to me. Administration-wise, coaching, and roster. And get this, not just Andre Dillard's and Zach Pascal's, starters. And then you're going to turn around and go, hey, Jordan Davis and Nakobe Dean are going to be superstars. Well, once again, you talk to me about that word potential. Potential means you haven't done it. Okay? So, Gardner Johnson was a top priority. I think Howie, as I said yesterday, talking to Chris Spielman, who's an executive with the Lions, Howie had a problem going from $800,000 to $10 million. And then you turn around and give 2 old guys, as I said yesterday, $16 million combined. Okay? And then you give Slay the upfront money and you keep him in the building at 32. You guys keep telling me Stephon Gilmore's, he's toast? Well, what's Slay at 32? His last 5 games, that dude was Casper the Ghost. Where is he? I didn't see him. Fletcher Cox is not a $10 million defensive tackle. And by the way, it's an indictment on Jordan Davis not stepping up, because if Jordan Davis had shown even more promise, Fletcher Cox would not have gotten, he couldn't get $10 million on the open market. Come on, dogs. Brandon Graham. Now, look, I'll tell you this. To be fair to both those men, if they add depth, they do some good things in the draft, they hit on a couple guys. Again, here we are, wishful thinking shit. Those guys are going to be productive again. I've been reiterating to you, Fletcher Cox and Brandon Graham were productive. Why? Because they had limited snaps. You limited them snaps, and what you did was you got more productivity out of them. Older guys have to have depth behind them. So what the Eagle defense is this year, inexperienced and old. And you're taking shots at Gardner. Hey, should Gardner Johnson be on social media? I don't know who's more whacked. Slay blocking me, not blocking me, blocking me, or Gardner Johnson taking his tweets down. It's up, it's down, it's up, it's down. These guys are as much divas as wide receivers are. Block, no. Block, yes. Unblock, you block. Block, no, yeah. Gardner Johnson, tweet, no. Tweet, no. I'm confused, guys. That must have been one hell of a locker room last year between all them dudes. Sure, a lot of crying, I'll tell you that, for a team that had so much success. Holy shit, man. Gotta be kidding me. I don't know. Seriously, I don't know what's more of a diva position, corners or wideouts? Man, hey, I guess that's why they make the big money. Okay? So you kept a 32-year-old old man Slay, a 35-year-old defensive end, and Graham. By the way, this is no indictment on what kind of man Brandon Graham is. You know, I hate to have to quantify my take sometimes because some of you automatically think that it's an attack on him as a man. It's not. It's got nothing to do with anything. You think the Patriots gave a shit about whether you were a good dude or not? They cared whether or not you were productive. End of story. 2 rules. Show up on time and play like hell. That's the only rules you had in New England. Not whether or not you're sitting around Gardner Johnson is a locker room, this guy or that. That shit is so it's such a non-factor. If a guy's a nightmare, like Aaron Rodgers, I'm going to play that guy. So wait a minute. Aaron Rodgers, the nightmare, versus Jordan Love. Hey, Jordan Love's a better guy. Give me the nightmare. I'll take the nightmare. You know why? Because as a general manager, Howie, that's your job. That's your job. Your job is not to sit there and gather talent that's a good dude in the room when it comes to dealing with the media. Who gives a shit about the media? But all these guys protect themselves. I love Aaron Rodgers and Lamar Jackson. Tell him Adam Schefter, lose my number. Both of them. And what did you have? All the minion media meatheads. Oh, you can't talk to him like that. He's one of the most respected guys. Oh, okay. Yeah, I know. Yeah. Unbelievable that you would take his side over a Lamar Jackson, who's a quality face of a franchise in Baltimore, and a guy in Aaron Rodgers who says, I don't know the guy, but this guy's got intel, and Sileo's a liar. Okay. Dude, I tell people this all the time. Make your own assessment on what you see, because most people see what they want to hear. Seriously. And I don't begrudge fans in Philadelphia for doing it that way. You see what you want to hear. That's what makes you, Buffalo, and a bunch of other places like San Francisco and such, great franchises with great fan bases. It's okay. I get it. I understand it. But, dude, come on. That's why here with me, I'm not trying to get a hall pass. Okay? I'm not trying to get into the NovaCare Center. That's something that Angelo told me a long time ago when I first started doing this. If you're looking to get into the NovaCare Center, you won't last. I never made serious friends with anybody in the market, player or coach-wise. That's why that guy lasted the length he did. I was like, cool, thank you. Getting the pat on the back by the Eagles or the Sixers or the Flyers has never been anything I've ever subscribed to because it doesn't last. Then you become a mouthpiece. And that's why you come here and we talk sports. You agree and disagree. Okay? Here. Howie. I mean, honestly, if I open a newspaper, the Inquirer, this guy's the manager, general manager of the year again. Bringing in Marcus Mariota and Rashad Penny. And now, what's his name? Nicholas Morrow, who was on the worst defense in the NFL. Okay. Hey, you replaced 1,300 yards and 11 touchdowns with a guy who can't play more than 8 games a year. Solid. Hey, now that's a no, vet. I wish I could be Adam Schefter. He's making 1.4. No. Vet, he makes $10 million a year. Adam Schefter makes $10 million a year. He don't make $1.4 million. You got that number wrong, man. He makes 1.4. Peter goes, Howie's not finished yet. He's not? These big money moves he's making. See, he could make those moves last year. You got one thing happening this year, though. You're over the cap. No one's reporting that story but us because we posted the NFL Players Association cap results as of Sunday. You're over the cap, $7 million. You have to get, and people go, Sileo doesn't understand. There's only I get it. June 1, you got to get down. You're 7 over with $5.4 million in dead cap money. And you got a $50 million bill that you got to pay. You get a 51 maybe $1 million price tag to pay for Jalen Hurts. I'll say it again to you like I said yesterday. We're going to find out more about this kid this year than last year. He's got a lesser team. As I told you all year, he'll never be on a team like he was a year ago. That was arguably the best roster they've ever constructed in Philadelphia in the Super Bowl era. And your quarterback was making peanuts. Zach Pascal made more than him a year ago. That's different now. See, I don't think Jalen Hurts could take this current roster right now to the Super Bowl and win it. I don't. He ain't Mahomes. Vet says the cap ain't real. Every team figures it out. No, they don't. Not with a $50 million quarterback, they don't. That's why they jettison players. Vet. Ace. Still spitting knowledge. With your experience, you and Seth could revamp teams and would pay Hurts this year or not. Ace, I've come to the conclusion if I'm going to gamble on Jalen Hurts, I'm going to front load the contract. I might give him $60 million this year, 40 the following year, 30 the year after, so that I won't be crippled. I don't want to pay Jalen Hurts $60 million in year 3. If you're going to gamble on a dual threat guy, gamble now. Baltimore, don't you think they wish they could have gambled in 2017 instead of 2022? Where you're not sure the guy can get through a 17-game season. These quarterbacks are unique to Joe Burrow and Mahomes. They're unique. You got to put the money at the beginning for those guys versus at the end because they ain't going to be healthy at the end. Hurts has already started that train. 1 game, 2 games. You take 1,300 yards out of the backfield and you expect to replace it with Rashad Penny, Boston Scott, and Kenny Gainwell. Dudes. Okay? What does that mean? You know what it translates into? More carries for Jalen Hurts. More opportunities to get hurt like he did in Chicago. How you doing? These are all facts. And most of what I just said has happened already. It's happened. It's funny. You know, people will go like this to me. Sileo flip-flops. Do you think I'm going to cover that Eagles team this year the same way I covered the 22 team? This is a lesser team. You're not going to be number 2 in the NFL in defense. How do you even know what scheme you're running? Are you running a bear front? 34, 43? Do you even know? Shit, you don't even have enough players to field a 34. You're signing dudes that were chasers just to fill your roster. This kid, Nicholas Morrow, I don't know, but okay, sure. Okay. He's a poor tackler. He's poor against the run. The teams are going to run the ball on the Eagles this year. They did last year. You turn on Pauly Short. Oh, how he slayed it. I'm like, slayed it? With old man Slay, old man Graham, old man Cox. And you gave all those guys money. You gave a 32-year-old corner $14 million. 2 guys that are north of 33 years old, you gave them $16 million. Solid. You're not younger. And you're going to be more experienced. You're older and more inexperienced. Your safety position is empty. Your linebacker position, oh, I forgot. Nakobe Dean. And the middle of your defense lost its best tackle. Okay. How he's going to take a running back, brother says in the draft. More inexperience. That frightens me when you say how he's going to take a running back in the draft. Why is that? Running backs struggle in pass protection that are rookies. So you're going to put a guy in the backfield with less experience blocking for Jalen Hurts. Interesting. So you're going to get less experience back there blocking for him. Okay. B goes, you said all the same crap. No, I didn't. I said it was the deepest and best roster that the NFL had. See, B. Lewis is another one of these kind of guys who talks bullshit. I picked on March 10th of a year ago the Eagles would go to the Super Bowl. Xander says I was the only guy and the first guy in your market that said that Sileo said that they're going to the Super Bowl. I said that. I said they were going to the Super Bowl, and it was the deepest roster. I didn't know it'd be the most productive roster at the time. Who would know that? But I thought it was the deepest. That's a fact. And so this guy here was probably a Wentz fan. Once Wentz turned into a turd at midnight, now all of a sudden he's saying, hey, I wanted Jalen to be the starter the whole time. He's one of those tools. Revising history. Whatever, guy. Untrue. Lies. But then again, most people, again, they see what they want to hear. That goes for the majority of you. Okay? Philly. Whatever, guy. All you have to do is go back in the archives of JAKIB Sports. And Xander, don't get it. Make them go find it. Go find it. March 10th. All you got to do is go to March 10th of 2022. Whatever, guys. It's documented because that's what we do here. Yeah, no help for laziness. Go find it yourself. Let's go on to the topics here. This team and this roster currently constructed, Jalen Hurts will never win a Super Bowl in his time in Philly. Last year was his greatest year, and it will go downhill if you put $50 million on that kid's neck. He ain't Mahomes. Some of you would go, Sills, wait a minute. So you're just saying Mahomes is the only guy that can win the Super Bowl? Am I saying that he's today's version of Tom Brady? Yeah. Do you know there was a span in Brady's 20 years in New England that every other year Tom Brady went to the Super Bowl? Yeah. Yeah. Peyton Manning underachieved in Indianapolis. One Super Bowl? The guy in Pittsburgh had two. Brandon goes, you're calling Hurts his whole career? Yeah. Yeah. Be like Dan Marino. Marino got to the Super Bowl. I think once, never went back because he had a lesser team. He had no defense. Guy had absolutely no defense. No defense. Oh, man. Yeah, Dan, all the sign. Yes, sir, baby. Dual threat. Better pay that guy. By the way, so now I'm hearing that there's 4 or 5 teams that are interested in Lamar Jackson. There is a market. You know why? Because Big Sills is a player association member. They're contacting teams for him because there's draft choices and a lot of money involved. 2 ones and $51 million. Woo! Why isn't Baltimore doing that? Baltimore's not sure of a dual threat guy who's been banged up, who's only 25 years old. And you want to pay Hurts off of 1 year. $50 million. It's worth the gamble, Dan. Is it? So what's your suggestion? Oh, no, you're in this. That's your guy. That's your guy. Hey. Hey, man, no defense. Offense is going to have to carry the mail. That means Jalen's going to have to run the ball more. That guy will not play 17 ball. Then again, he never has. He never has. And he won't. I mean, no running game? Oh, that's right. Boston Scott and little Kenny Gainwell. Oh, man. All right, let me ask you this. Let's get into some of these topics here. Man, hey, I hate to do it to you. And by the way, my aunt says, hey, man, why don't you go a little softer on him? I'm saying I'm trying. But when you're old and inexperienced on defense, I don't know, man. She goes, can you be a little softer? Xander's like, you're fired. Told Xander this, man. Hey, you want to go places? You don't cover softball games. Yeah, I think, with all the replacements, they'll figure it out. Okay. Hey, next. How about those Flyers? I don't know, man. Would you rather have veteran free agents like how we did a year ago? Or would you rather have Eagles replace these important pieces on the roster in the draft? What would you rather have? What would you rather have? Veterans like Howie did a year ago? Ray says both. Howie sucks at rookies. Brandon Graham. Excuse me. Brandon Graham turned out to be a really good player. He did. He turned out to be a really fine ball player. He will be in the Eagles Hall of Fame. Derek Barnett. Andre Dillard. Jalen Reagor. I mean, these are all failures. Andre Dillard's no longer on the Eagles. Bomb. That's an F. You couldn't keep that guy on the football team? And you drafted him in the first round? You think Jordan Davis is the 13th pick in the draft? Told you this before. That guy's never lived up production-wise to his athleticism. He's never. And someone goes, Jordan Mailata. So, obviously, Jordan Mailata is a starter now. The Eagles passed on him 6 times. And you want me to believe that that was strategically done. Okay. Yeah. That's like telling me the Cowboys found Larry Allen in the 12th round and it was strategically done that way. Oh, yeah. Or better yet, here's the best one of them all. The Patriots were so smart in drafting Brady. And I fire back. They passed on him 5 times. I mean, it wasn't like these guys were sitting there going, Brady's the guy at 6 in the 6th round. You take the best player available at those times. And that's kind of why Howie gets better in latter rounds. He sucks in the first round. Devontae Smith. Here again. So if you're going to build this team and replace these veteran guys with draft choices, Howie can't do it. He replaced Jalen Reagor with A.J. Brown. He replaced all those turd corners that he drafted. Your entire secondary is all trades or free agents. He couldn't draft a corner to save his life. What linebacker has he drafted in the last 10 years that was worth a shit? These were all veteran dudes. Pass rusher. Dude, Josh Sweat's panning out. I told you this. I like the kid. I think he's their best D lineman. I think he is their best D lineman. He showed me a year ago, and I didn't think he was, that he could turn into an every down defensive lineman. Dan, I never said Jordan Davis was a steal. That is not true. Again, Bob, I said he's never lived up. That is not true. I never said he was a steal. Don't get me confused. I never said Nakobe Dean was a steal. You got me confused with the rest of them idiots that said Nakobe Dean was the steal of the draft. The guy didn't even show up on special teams. The little guy. Howie getting Josh Sweat, that's a pretty good pick. And by the way, Milton Williams, I like him. I think he's going to be a productive D lineman. By the way, I hope they don't really show a lot of disrespect towards that kid, because I think that kid could be like a Michael Bennett and go somewhere else, get into a better system that fits him, and he could be a star D tackle. He's very versatile. Play end for you, put him on a shade on the nose. I like Milton Williams. I think Milton Williams has worked his ass off. He's a 500-pound bench presser. He sees all the guys in front of him getting all the money and such, and all he's done is gotten better. I like him a lot, actually. I actually like him a lot. Howie's got to go back into free agency and replace these players. He's got 6 draft choices as of now. He'll get some compensation picks, but he doesn't have enough equity. That's why we kind of visited yesterday. Should Howie trade out of 10? See, to me, the priority has changed. I got a brand new mock draft 3.0 after the first week of free agency. And we're going to take a look at that. because I do think the priorities have changed. You think corner's still a priority for the Eagles at 10? You just signed Bradbury to that deal. You got old man Slay on the other side. Maybe. But you got to get guys this year that are going to play. You can't have a dude sitting there like Devon Weatherspoon on the bench, and he's a first rounder. You got to draft dudes that are going to start like Kansas City did. Kansas City's draft choices all started. They had to. Why? Mahomes makes all the money. Safety at 10? See, Texas boy, I'm gonna explain something to you here, though. Texas boy goes, the Eagles should draft a safety at 10. So they wouldn't spend an extra $2 million to keep Gardner Johnson in Philly. But you want to go more inexperienced, and you want to use the 10th pick in the draft for a safety. When is the last safety that was drafted in the top 10? How about this? In the last 10 years, how many safeties have gone in the top 10 draft? How many? DT at 10? Jalen Carter? Sure. If he's there. We're going to look at that. We're going to do that at the top of the hour. Okay, so you guys have named Jamal Adams. Who else? Jamal Adams. He was the 6th overall out of LSU. How many safeties have been drafted in the last 10 years in the top 10 NFL picks? There has been only one safety chosen in the top 5 NFL picks. We're saying 10 though, so this is a little different. Okay? Only 5 since 1992. It's not a position you draft safeties at. It's not a position. Because at the end of the day, Howie didn't even want to pay an extra $2 million for a guy who was 26 years old. You're going to put a 10th pick on the guy? I don't think so. I don't believe they're going there. I don't believe they're going there. Funny, Cal goes, Sills was drafted in the 15th round. No, it was the 57th player taken, Junior. And some go like this. Well, Sills was in the supplemental draft. So was Reggie White. So was Reggie White. So was Steve Young. I mean, Reggie White went in the supplemental draft. So let's go here. So you think Howie is going to retool this team in the draft? I think it's a joke. He's not a very good drafter. Okay? He's not a good drafter. You know where they're good at? They're good in the O-line. Here's the strengths of the Eagles in their draft. O-line. They're horrible at quarterback. That may change now with Jalen. Because in the last 25 years, Donovan McNabb and maybe Jalen Hurts. 1 year. We'll see. To me, elite is somebody that does it over 4 or 5 years. Not 1 year. Elite. So Howie's got problems right now. That's why you see these nickel and dime signs. There's nobody that he's brought in to replace anybody on the roster that's a frontline dude. You know what the conversation is? You get Joe Banner because he likes going over and having lunch at the NovaCare Center. You know what you get? These are Howie moves. And you're like, dude, these guys were bust everywhere they've played. Mariota now. How many teams is this? Tennessee. Hey, by the way, Mariota's a great dude. I have never heard anything negative about the guy. He's going to be a superstar guy in the community, and he's going to be a great teammate, in my opinion, to Jalen Hurts. And that's going to be a good dynamic. That's really good for Jalen, having a guy like that behind him that he can bang things off of. I think that's going to be the hidden gem to that whole thing. And to me, I feel more comfortable with Mariota behind him when it comes to having to pick up the team if he happens to go out, which he will. I have a better feeling about him than I did Gardner Minshew, especially with the RPO system. Can I tell you why Minshew looked better in 2021 than he did in 22 when he took the reins? You know why he looked better? The offense wasn't established as a gigantic RPO. That's why he went into New York and he looked like a star against the Jets. And the Jets were a lot worse back then. Still, he was better because the RPO and Jalen Hurts offense and system wasn't intact like it was in 2022. That's why he looked better. That's why when people saw him, they were like, shit, man. Man, everyone was talking about him being one of the better security belts in case something went sideways. And then when you had Shane Steichen handing him Jalen Hurts' playbook, you were like, he's running RPOs. Xander can outrun him. I mean, it wasn't going to happen. Wasn't going to happen. I actually think Mariota knows his role now. And I think he could probably reinvent himself. I'm rooting for him. I like Marcus Mariota a lot. Mike Vrabel loved the guy. Hated to give the job away and take it away from him. Guy's great with autistic kid, all that, man. He's wonderful. Atlanta loved him. Just he's not good enough. He's not good enough to be a starter. And I think he'll accept his role. I never thought Gardner Minshew accepted his role as a backup. I think he always probably thought he was better than Hurts. Okay? Dofi, I don't address asinine comments like that. I just don't. That's a you thing, dude. You need to go work it out with yourself. You do. You need to go work it out with yourself, guy. That's, you know what? There's a lot of things that I won't say on my pro. Well, there's very few things I should say that I won't say on my show. That you'll never hear. Wishing bodily harm on somebody. Now, let's get to Hurts. Dual threat. Everybody's hero has done everything. Here, let's give here's my in 2 years that I've been covering this kid. Here's my fair assessment of where they are now as they prepare for this journey they're going to go on. The same journey they went on with Carson Wentz. Let's see if he fits the bill here as you move forward. Remember, he's not better than Lamar Jackson. Do you know how many times last year Xander and I said this, or the playoffs previous year, I think it was, I want one of those guys. I want one of those guys. I'll say this to you too. Hurts was spectacular in the Super Bowl. He sucked out loud in the divisional game and in the conference title game. He was terrible. Super Bowl, he was special. Absolutely true. His 2022 season was with versatility. He got better. In that Chicago game that he got hurt, he made some passes in that game that I didn't think he was capable of making. Touch passes. He is definitely, I'll tell you this about him versus Lamar. He's not a better player than Lamar, but he could turn out to be a better passer than Lamar. And Lamar led the NFL in touchdown passes. He could do that. I don't know about leading the NFL in touchdown passes, but I do think he has maybe more of a ceiling in getting to being a better passer than Lamar. Lamar's just gifted as an athlete. He's 10 times the athlete Jalen Hurts is. He's 25 years old. He's got a unanimous MVP award, and he's won over 70% of his ball games. Maybe 75, is it? 49 and 17 or some crazy number like that. Hey, he's been hurt. Here's where I go with him, though. Okay? Has he put up enough of a litmus test for a $50 million payout? What quarterback has he – when you are now in the NFL, you've got to beat Mahomes. Some will go like this. Well, he outplayed him. No, he didn't. This isn't politics where you get to move the scoreboard. I don't give a shit. In both games, he had more passing yards than Mahomes. Look at those completion percentages. In the second half, I think he had one incomplete pass, which was a throwaway. Hey, Xander, can you do me a favor, my friend? Make sure Merrill Reese gets the link. He just texted me. He'll be on, by the way. Thank you very much, Merrill, for reminding me. Merrill Reese, the voice of the Philadelphia Eagles, will join us at 4:30 Eastern. So we'll talk to him. I love catching up with our friend. He was so kind to come on every week last week. Awesome stuff, man. Really great. So when I look at Hurts, never have to worry about Jalen quitting on the team. Isaiah, that's a great take. Man. Did he wave a white flag because he didn't have his contract and he wasn't 100%? He was 80%. I mean, Mahomes played hurt. So did Jalen play hurt. And Jalen didn't have his money either yet. Okay? Right? He played. That is something I'm going to have to get over. Agreed. But he gambled so much. Let me get back to Hurts. Dual threat. This is no indictment on who Jalen is. Doesn't have a high ceiling. They don't last. Cam Newton today is throwing at the Auburn Pro Day, and he's 32, and he can't get a job. Why? He has been so destroyed. This is an MVP. This is a 6'6", 265-pound man. And he has been destroyed because the NFL didn't know how to legislate roughing calls and penalties against him on late hits. They let that man take a beating. Same. You know, it's funny. People go, well, Steve Young played a long time. No, he didn't. He backed up Montana for a decade. No, he didn't. Hey, by the way, before you start taking shots at Cam Newton, who I'm a huge fan of, you hope Jalen Hurts has the career he did. MVP, took a team to a Super Bowl, was the face of that franchise for over 10 years. Cam Newton had a great career. Heisman Trophy winners don't have great careers at quarterback in the NFL. The kid in Cincinnati's kind of changing the room. But most of the quarterbacks that are superstar NFL guys are not Heisman winners. Staubach. I mean, how many quarterbacks that won the Heisman, won Super Bowls? Staubach. Is it only Staubach? I think I think Staubach's the only Heisman Trophy winning quarterback to win a Super Bowl. Is there anybody else? Those guys don't usually turn out to do anything. Okay? Heisman quarterbacks don't win Super Bowls. They don't. So Jalen doesn't have a long time to do this at the rate he plays. I don't have a problem giving him a contract for 4 years. 5's too much. He's going to miss the same amount of games as Lamar Jackson. Are you under the assumption that Jalen's going to be healthier than Lamar is with a lesser team? You understand that there's going to be more reps for Hurts to have to play this coming season because the lesser defense and the inexperienced defense and an older defense. You just wait, Sills, till next year. And I'm like, what do you mean until the wait at the end of the year? The Gardner Johnson deal at the end of the season was a trade. It wasn't a free agent signing. They tried that kid from San Francisco, and he was a turd. Then they had to make a trade. And for whatever reason, New Orleans and Mickey Loomis gave him up. How we may want to go long like the Mahomes deal. Giving Jalen Hurts 10 years? Dude, if he plays 10 years, I'll be stunned. If Jalen Hurts plays 10 years, I'll be stunned. Okay? Top of the hour. Mock NFL Draft 3.0. G Meta goes, bro, needs new material. Jalen Hurts' contract is not up right now. They're not negotiating it. Hey, by the way, if I were Clutch Sports, don't be shocked if Clutch Sports tells Jalen Hurts, you might not want to go to training camp until you get your contract. That's what I would recommend. I would recommend that to him. I don't think it's going to get there, and I don't think it get that ugly. But do you notice nobody in the media is saying this? What if Clutch Sports recommends that Jalen Hurts doesn't go to training camp until he gets a new contract put on the table? And if they don't consummate a new contract by July 27th, all bets are off. He goes into his final year of his contract and he becomes a free agent at the end of the year. And then you're in the Lamar Jackson, same situation. Don't say that couldn't happen. You know how agents work. Well, Hurts would never do. You're talking about a guy with not a big of a window. Okay? Hurts would never do that. He loves us. Now, one media person has brought up, what if the Eagles don't want to give him a deal until right around they start negotiating July, June, and they can't get a deal done? You let him go into the year if you're Clutch? A dual threat guy with a lesser team. General goes, what if? No, it's not what if. That's a possibility. See, this guy goes, what if? No, that's a possibility. Clutch could recommend the same thing that happened to Lamar Jackson. You really want to go into training camp with no deal? Final year of your contract? How many people think Jalen Hurts will get $50 million in the open market? We're going to find out a lot more about him this year. Whew. I guarantee you this, if the Cowboys had their shot at redoing Dak Prescott's deal, actually, I think the Cowboys have done a nice job. We're going to look at the NFC East. I think the Cowboys have done a nice job, man. Restructured Brandon Cooks' deal today. Making some good moves. They lose somebody in the O-line. They add Stephon Gilmore in the secondary. I don't know. I mean, we're going to talk about the Cowboys a little bit. Okay? He absolutely would get 50. Okay. That guy can't carry a team. He had the most complete team I've ever seen. Can you imagine? Dude, if Mahomes was on that Eagle team a year ago, that they not only would have went undefeated, they probably would have outscored opponents 50-10. Mahomes would have probably threw for 8,000 yards and 70 touchdowns. You kidding me? 2 rookie corners, 1 defensive tackle. That's it. That's kind of what you got. Well, like I said, hey, man, maybe Hurts is Mahomes. We're going to find out. How you doing? Okay? I would say this to you, that Jalen right now, as you're negotiating, and you're negotiating with him, I think he's got a handle, and I think Jalen has got to control the temperature of the negotiations. I think Jalen Hurts, here's your hometown discount. Jalen is controlling the temperature. Unlike Darius, old man Slay, couldn't control his. There was no reason for him to tweet anything. He was under contract at $18 million. He hurt Drew Rosenhaus in that whole process by exposing the moves of the Eagles, because the Eagles were on the cusp of cutting him. Then they saw the open market, and Drew had a come to Jesus conversation with Slay. Hey, Gilmore just got $8 million. You ain't getting more than that, kid. At 32, you're both 32. And the player fueled the speculation. No one else did. I didn't have any insight that he was going to be cut. The Choir had it right on the front page in a dramatic move. Darius Slay to be released. That wasn't my take. No, I was not even remotely involved in that. But somehow that landed on me, and players around the NFL and hosts and everything made it my story. I'm like, I had no insight. Slay was the guy who did all that shit. Slay could have controlled the environment by doing this, not saying anything. Nobody would have known anything. And you know what? People could have maybe even said, oh, wow, he got more money up front. And he redid his deal to help the team. Instead, he took a haircut. And how they covered it was giving him more money up front, which is not a bad deal at 32. Totally a win for the Eagles. I said that. Totally a win for the Eagles. But that turned out to be a bad thing. I'm like, it's great for the team. They got their 2 corners back. Probably them in Miami, the 2 best combos. Dallas is kind of in that room now with Diggs and Gilmore. I think Gilmore still got some juice in the tank. Okay? Look at Yale. Completely sabotaged the whole negotiations with Gardner Johnson did. Oh, Yale. I said it a little bit yesterday, but I'll reemphasize this, Xander. I personally think that whole negotiation debacle and fiasco with Darius Slay, I think it undermined the entire negotiations with Gardner Johnson. Completely agree with Yale that it sabotaged it. Completely did. $23 million to a 32-year-old corner. Solid. And the guy you wanted, and now everyone's starting to talk shit on Gardner Johnson like he's overrated and he was a bad guy in the locker room. That's not true. That's shit. Who cares? He led the NFL in interceptions. That's all I care. That's all you should care about. Okay? What are you, welfare workers? Seriously, what are you, kindergarten teachers? Who gives a shit about that? These are grown men. They can handle themselves. Don't need media people telling me this guy's a bag. Dude, what do you know? What do you know? So, end of the day, He sabotaged, but it hurt Gardner Johnson. I think Darius Slay and his debacle hurt Gardner Johnson on staying in Philadelphia. I completely do. Completely do. I don't care what he's tweeting. I don't really care what the Eagles are saying, too, that he was a little bit of an issue in the locker room. Really. Like your guy, A.J. Brown, barking at Tennessee. You got a problem with that, though, right? Oh, I see. Gardner Johnson's a headache, but A.J. Brown can talk shit on Tennessee. What's the point of that, too? All right. All right. I know. Guys are going to have to sit back and relax a little bit here now. Now what we're going to do is take a look at Mock Draft 3.0 after the first week of free agency. Okay? Hope too many people aren't moaning and crying, because I know many of you are right now. You could sit down, take a time out, have your cup of water, put a towel on your neck, feel a little bit better. Okay? Truth, Justice, and the Big Sills Way will continue in hour number 2. Merrill Reese, the voice of the Eagles, will join us at 4:30 Eastern. Keep it here on the National Football Show.
Go to get your